Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome to Millennium News 24/7 Daily Local News Update. I'm with you, Jasmine McTague, live from Jersey City, New Jersey, watching the news headlines. And now, details at this time. Our first story. 10 people have been indicted in an ID theft conspiracy that included the United States Postal Service mail carriers and netted more than $750,000, Manhattan District Attorney Cy Vance announced Wednesday. The alleged crimes were committed between January of 2017 and August of 2019, with the accused ringleader, 37-year-old Michael Richards, charged with recruiting multiple mail carriers to steal credit cards from the mail they delivered in Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Burke, Virginia. Those mail carriers were identified as 36-year-olds Kenesha Morrell, 31-year-olds Kirkwan Highsmith, and 31-year-old Bruce Buenvenino, and 25-year-old Kenneth Freeman. Richard allegedly paid the mail carriers different amounts depending on how well the cards they stole performed. Vance said members of the conspiracy use online databases to learn personal identifying information about the card holders in order to activate the card and purchase high-end goods at luxury retailers. The defendants are charged with fourth-degree conspiracy, 3 counts of second-degree grand larceny, and other related charges. This holiday season, we know that identity thieves will be targeting not just our inboxes, but our mailboxes, Vance said. So we're putting scammers on notice. The Manhattan DA's office has the expertise, resources, and partnerships in cyber crimes and identity theft to find you and hold you accountable. We will continue to work hand in hand with the U.S. Postal Inspection Service and the NYPD to stamp out fraud and protect the integrity of a service relied upon by millions of New Yorkers. Now, for story 2. For many, the lead villains in the rush of smash and grab thefts plaguing California is a sentencing reduction ballot measures that voters approved overwhelmingly 7 years ago. I think it was the biggest con job in California history, says Sacramento County District Attorney Annie Marie Shalbert, a former Republican who intends to run for state attorney general next year as an independent. Criminals have been laughing at us. There are clear beliefs and very large reality that there is no consequences anymore to theft. You tell everybody, oh, we're not going to hold anybody accountable, and guess what? What's going to happen? The measures was proportioned 47 co-authored by the then San Francisco, now Los Angeles District Attorney George Gascon, and strongly supported by then Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom, who later was elected governor. The Proposition 47 was approved by a landslide vote of roughly 60% to 40%. The measures reduced from a possible felony to a misdemeanor the possessions of narcotics for personal use and certain property crimes. The narcotics piece isn't an issue, but the sentence reduction for thefts is. Under 47, the crime of petty thief, receiving stolen property, and writing bad checks were lowered to misdemeanors when the value was less than $950. No prison time. In some counties, maybe a wrist slap. In 2020, voters lopsidedly rejected Proposition 20, which would have tweaked 47 by lowering the felony threshold to $250 from several serial thieves. The $950 threshold is deceiving, critics say. A thief can go from store to store grabbing $900 worth of merchandise at each, and it's still a misdemeanor. If you steal $3,500 from 5 stores, it's not a felony, Sherbert says. Now, for story 3. Terrifying moments for a Chicago family who became victims of smash and grab while visiting San Francisco this week. Multiple family members and 2 toddlers were in the car when it happened near Lombard Street. A witness was able to snap these photos of the suspect during the break-in. The victims say crime in the big city isn't anything new to them, but what shocked them most was the fact that this all happened while they had small children in the back seat. What also makes this smash and grab different from any other is one of the victims had something in the stolen bag that has been tracking every move of the thieves since the robbery. I was in the car when it happened. All I can hear was a smash, and then I said no. Jumped out of the car, but it was quick. It was 5 seconds, Kimberly Blade and her sister Catherine stopped their rental car near Lombard Street on Monday when they became a victim of a smash and grab. You could see people were in the car, so each seat was taken. My 2 daughters were in the back seat. One's 2 and one's 4. And it was behind the 4-year-old, and like I said, she's seen him. He was wearing all black with a black ski mask, she said. The ninja took that bag. A neighbor witnessed the break-in and snapped photos of the suspect, saying 3 cars were circling the area involved in the crime. Kimberly says her bag was stolen along with her computer, headphones, Catherine's passport, the kids' birth certificates, and more. It's an organized crime for sure. Like, they have it well thought out. It was 5-second deal. If they can get away with it in 5 seconds, why wouldn't they keep doing it? The family was visiting from Chicago, another city where they see a lot of crimes. That's why Kimberly says she keeps a GPS device like an Apple AirTag on her laptop. It actually it's actually the reason she's been able to track the robber's location ever since the break-in. Surveillances and cell phone videos show smash and grabs that have happened in the same location over the past year. The sisters were aware of all these break-ins before visiting the city, but didn't expect it to happen so fast while they were inside. My cousin said it though being very beginning, you gotta watch it. They have smash and grabs here. Her boyfriend said it. We were extra careful, like we were trying to be extra careful. But when you're not and you do let your guard down, we snooze. We snoozed. We sure did. And now for story 4. Miami-Dade police say a man believed to be her boyfriend, 32-year-old Xavier Johnson, was seen beating Lloyd before dragging her into the white Honda Civic. Based on the evidence gathered by detectives on scene, video surveillance, it appeared that this lady was beaten, and it does appear at the time that she was abducted, taken against her will inside of a vehicle. Miami-Dade Police Detective Chris Thompson said. Family members said Lloyd is pregnant and that she and Johnson have been together for 11 years, have 2 children together. On Wednesday, police discovered a body in the Woodin area in Homestead. Johnson have been charged with first-degree murder, kidnapping, and burglary. WSVN reports Johnson confessed to killing Lloyd. Devastating, devastating. She was at her work, bothering no one, said Lloyd's grandmother, Elfrida Lyon. She was at her work. It should be a safe haven. And for someone to attack her and take her? Lloyd's 28th birthday would have been next week. And now, a short break from the daily English news of Millennium News 24/7. Stay tuned.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome to Millennium News 24/7 Daily Local News Update. Here's our story 5. A 6-year-old girl who went missing after a car was stolen outside Philadelphia pizza place has been found safe. Police say the child was dropped off at the 35th District headquarters on Wednesday morning unharmed. The vehicle was located in the parking lot of the Checkers on Broad Street and Nedrow Ave. There have no words on any arrest or a suspect description. Chopper 6 was over the scene after the vehicle sought during an Amber Alert was found. The child is safe. Police say the girl was in a back seat of the car that was stolen around 9:30 p.m. Tuesday in the city of Germantown section. An Amber Alert was issued at 6:10 a.m. Wednesday. The mother told police she stopped at Giovanni's Pizzeria on the 5600 block of Green Street for pizza. She left her 6-year-old daughter in the back seat of the car with the engine running. When the mother came out with her pizza, the car was gone. I saw the lady across the street and she was crying, she said, nearby restaurant owner Cedric Davis. Davis said he had no idea the gravity of the situation at the time, but is relieved to hear that the little girl is back with family. I was happy to hear that, he added. This afternoon, police spoke about the investigation and explained why an Amber Alert was issued hours after the child had been missing. There was some confusion about some of the circumstances and some of the facts, said Deputy Commissioner Ben Nasha. Police said that it continued part of their investigation as well, taking a deep dive into the stolen car and searched for surveillance videos for a lead on a suspect. Our investigators are going to work as hard as they possibly can to identify who took the vehicle with the child inside of it, said Nisha. Action News did get in touch with the child's aunt, who said the family is happy, grateful, and thankful the child was found. And now for story 6. The nonprofit leader entrusted to clear the dangerous encampments at Broadview Thompson K8 admits that he took meth with a homeless woman he was supposed to help. Mike Mathias of homeless advocacy nonprofit Anything Helps was selected by Seattle Public Schools to work with the approximately 70 homeless people living at a controversial Bitter Lake encampment. For over a year, the park attached to the school attracted sex workers, addicts, and at one point, even a sex offender. It posed a danger to the students, staff, parents, and parkgoers. But in July of this year, roughly a week after Matthias officially took over the efforts at the encampment, he admits to the Jason Rentz show on KTTH that he accepted a shot of meth from a member of the camp. The revelation comes as Matthias faces a number of serious allegations concerning his conduct with homeless women. He denies all other allegations, which includes using nonprofit funds to purchase drugs and threatening housing vouchers for anyone who spoke out against him. But as those allegations came to light, it revealed a serious lack of oversight from the city and county agencies that task Matthias with the important work. It's not even clear there will be an investigation. Members of Anything Helps informed Matthias via email on November 26 that it received multiple substantiated reports of misconduct. They asked him to step aside. The Anything Helps team informed its community partners, including the King County regional authorities, on the homelessness of the allegations on a December 3rd memo. We are disappointed to inform you of an unethical, unprofessional, potentially unlawful conduct within our agency. Anything Helps. The memo reads, The complaint alleges a series of illegal behaviors by Matthias against members of the homeless encampment, all of whom were women. It includes drug use and purchases, harassments, and coercions. Matthias is accused of using Anything Helps Fund to purchase meth for his own use, but citing four unnamed witnesses that the memo says Matthias spent large cash amounts to purchase drugs for individuals living at the encampment, citing six first-hand accounts plus witnesses to gross misconduct. The memo alleges Matthias was pressuring women at the camp to hit or slam with him with the use of meth. This indicates intravenous meth use. And now, for story 7. Deputy Chief Jennifer Knight, a high-ranking Columbus police officer, was relieved of duty after missing a random drug and alcohol test. Her gun and badge were taken away after failing to show up for the test, which is a city policy. The investigation he's referring to involves a book written by Mark Fischel about investigations and retaliation complaints. Fischel had interviewed Knight for his investigation back in June, and she told him that she's obligated to report potential misconducts. His report, published in September, did find retaliation by Knight. Lieutenant Melissa McFadden wrote a book about how officers use internal affairs to retaliate against her. And Knight filed 2 complaints against the book, which didn't focus on factual allegations, only instances where she disagreed with what McFadden wrote. Fischel counted those complaints as retaliation. Knight also told Fischel that she was reluctant to file against McFadden and she requested protection from harassment. She said that she believes her division didn't take any action to protect her, and she believes that she's been subjected to additional harassment by Lieutenant McFadden. Deputy Chief Knight was told to stay home and give back her gun and badge in a notification from the Assistant Chief, Lashana Potts. The notification came on Thursday, just a few days after missing her random drug and alcohol screening. According to Gutzman, her screening was originally set for 10 a.m. on Monday, but it got moved to 2 p.m. after she couldn't make it in the first time due to a meeting. He said that she couldn't make the 2 p.m. screening either because of her schedule got busy. When Knight missed Monday's screening, Gutzman said that she was given the option to reschedule the next day. However, her failure to appear on Monday was considered a positive test. City policy states that when an employee is notified of a random test, they have to cease work as soon as possible and go to the collection site. Gutzman say that officials like Knight have more flexibility, though, usually by days. McIntyre said they're not aware of any other officers not showing up for their drug test without any explanations. Columbus drug-free workplace policy states that its purpose is to provide a safe workplace. It does state in the policy that missing a test can result in a positive test result. After a positive test or refusal to test, employees are supposed to complete an EAP assessment and possibly enter a treatment program. The policy states that all police officers must comply with an order to be tested. The policy states That refusal to test is defined as failing to cooperate with any part of the testing process, declining to allow for a direct observation when required, and declining to allow a monitor collection when required, declining to continue the collection process when the first specimen has low volume, or declining to participate in an alternative specimen collection, leaving the collection site before completion of collection, wearing any devices that could interfere with the collection process, bringing materials in attempt to tamper with their specimen, and admitting to collectors that they have adulterated or substituted their specimen. Knight is also among 12 officers who are moving forward with an EEOC discrimination case involving Lieutenant McFadden. Gutzman said that he believes the city is trying to get rid of her. Now for story 8. Get ready for 2 nights of dazzling decoration on San Diego Bay, with the Parade of Lights beginning this weekend and giving the families a fun holiday activity for free. The San Diego tradition returns Sunday, December 12th and December 19th at 5:30 p.m., drawing an estimate of 100,000 residents and visitors to the shore to watch about 80 boats decorated to fit this year's theme, 12 Days of Christmas. There is no cost to watch along the parade route, which starts at Shelters Island and proceeds to the ferry landing in Corando over the course of between an hour and an hour and a half. Organizers say every year, organizers warn the parking will be very limited. Thousands of people try to check out the free events. Attendees are encouraged to take public transportation, including the trolleys and buses that are provided services to the area north of the Embarcados. You can take the trolley Green Line to the Santa Fe Depot or the orange or blue line to the American Plaza. Stop to get in the vicinity. Check the San Diego MTS trip planner for more details. On Sunday, kids 12 and under ride for free on buses and trolleys with each adult ticket. You can also drive or take public transportation to downtown area, then order a ride from the rideshare app or pedicab to your specific viewing area. If you would like to try driving straight to your destinations, organizers will provide the FOL. And now, a short break from the daily English news, Millennium News 24/7. Stay tuned.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome back to Millennium News 24/7 daily local news update. Now, here's our story 9. President Joe Biden on Thursday opened the first White House summit for democracy by sounding an alarm about a global slide for democratic institutions and called for world leaders to lock arms and demonstrate democracies can deliver. Biden called it critical moment for fellow leaders to redouble their efforts to bolster democracies. In making the case for action, he noted his own battle to win passage of voting rights legislation at home and alluded to challenges to the America's democratic institution and traditions. This is an urgent matter, Biden said in a remarks to open the 2-day virtual summit. The data we are seeing is largely pointing in the wrong direction. The video gathering comes as Biden has repeatedly made a case that the U.S. and like-minded allies need to show the world that democracies are a far better vehicle for societies than atrocities. That it is central tenet of Biden's foreign policy outlook, one that he vowed would be more outward looking than his predecessors Donald Trump's America's First approach. Biden, in his speech, announced plans to launch an initiative that would spend up to $424 million for programming around the world that supports independent media, anti-corruption work, and more. But the gathering also drew backlash from the United States chief advisories and other nations that were not invited to participate. Ahead of the summit, the ambassadors to the U.S. from China and Russia wrote a joint essay describing the Biden administration as exhibiting a Cold War mentality that will stoke up ideological confrontations and a rift in the world. The administration has also faced scrutiny over how it went about deciding which countries to invite. China and Russia were among those not receiving invitations. After Biden's opening remarks, other leaders took turns delivering their own remarks on the state of democracy. Many recorded, often reflecting on the stress that rapidly evolving technology is having on their nation. They also bemoaned the increase of disinformation campaigns aimed at and undermining institutions and elections. The democratic conversation is changing, said Denmark's Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen. New technologies and large tech companies are increasingly setting the stage for the democratic dialogue, sometimes with more emphasis on reach than on freedom of speech. The summit comes as Biden is pressing Russia Vladimir Putin to stand down after a massive buildup of troops on the Ukraine border, creating growing concerns in Washington and European capitals that Russia may look to once again invade Ukraine. Biden on Wednesday said that he warned Putin in a video called this week of severe consequences if Russia invaded. Poland's Andrzej Duda also spoke out against Russia in his address, decrying Moscow and its support for Belarus. Poland and Western allies have accused Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko of using migrants as pawns to destabilize the 27-nation European Union in retaliation for its sanctions on his authoritarian regime. Hundreds of migrants, mostly from Middle East, last month flocked to the Belarus-Poland border. Most were fleeing conflict or despair at home and were looking to reach Germany and other Western European countries. And now for story 10. Myanmar government troops rounded up villagers, some believed to be children, tied them up, and slaughtered them, according to witnesses and other reports. An opposition leader said the civilians were burned alive as a repression of resistance to the de facto coup takes an increasingly brutal turn. A video of the aftermath of Tuesday's assault, apparently retaliation for an attack on military convoy, showed the charred bodies of 11 people lying in a circle amid what appears to be the remains of a hut. Outrage spread both inside and outside Myanmar as graphic images were shared on social media of the assault, which Human Rights Watch said was similar to other recent attacks and looked like it was meant to be discovered. This incident is quite brazen and it's happened in an area that was meant to be found and seen to scare people. Researchers from the group, many Mayang, said, our contacts are saying these were just boys and young people who were villagers who were caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. Opposition spokesperson Dr. Sasa said, the attack began after a military convoy, which was raiding villages in the country's northwest, hit a roadside bomb. Troops retaliated first by shelling the villagers of Donta, then rounding up anyone they could capture there. They were lashed together, tortured, and ultimately burned alive, he said, adding that the victims range in age from 14 to 40. The sheer brutality, savagery, and cruelty of these acts show a new depth of depravity and proves that despite the pretense of the relative dente seen over these last few months, the junta never had any intentions of de-escalating their campaign of violence, said Saza, who uses one name in its spokesperson for Myanmar's underground National Unity Government. That group declared itself the country's only legitimate leaders in the wake of the military takeover on February 1st that prevented elected lawmakers from taking their seats in parliament. The seizure of power was initially met with nonviolent street protests, but after police and soldiers responded with lethal forces and violence escalated as opponents of military rule took up arms. In recent months, fighting has been raging in the northwest areas. And now for story 11. The U.S. has ordered an arms embargo with Cambodia, citing deepening Chinese military influence, corruption, and human rights abuse by the government and armed forces in the Southeast Asia country. The added restrictions on defense-related goods and services issued by the state and commerce departments are due to be published and take effect Thursday. A notice in the Federal Register said developments in Cambodia were contrary to U.S. national security and foreign policy interests. The aim of the embargo is to ensure that the defense-related items are not available to Cambodia's military and military intelligence services without advance review by the U.S. government, it said. The latest restrictions follows the Treasury Department's ordering in November of sanctions against two senior Cambodian military officials for corruption and come amid increasing concerns about Beijing's sway. At the time, the U.S. government issued an advisory cautioning American businesses about potential exposures to entities, Cambodia, and military that engage in human rights abuses, corruptions, and other destabilizing conducts. Cambodia's branded those sanctions as politically motivated and said it would not discuss them with Washington. The U.S. has similar controls on exports of items that might be diverted to military end users in Myanmar, China, Russia, and Venezuela. U.S. exports to Cambodia in 2019 totaled $5.6 billion. The amount of military-related U.S. exports to Cambodia was not immediately available. The U.S. is the largest export market for Cambodia, a major garment manufacturing hub, but three-quarters of Cambodia's imports are from China and other countries in Asia. The U.S. halted military assistance to Cambodia following the 1997 coup, in which the country's leader, Hun Sen, grabbed full power of the ousting his premier, Prince Norodom Ranarad. Hun Sen remains prime minister. In August of 2005, President George W. Bush waived the ban, citing Phnom Penh's agreement to exempt Americans in Cambodia from prosecution by the Netherlands-based International Criminal Court. Since direct military ties between the two countries were restored in 2006, the U.S. has pledged millions in military aid to Cambodia, initially to help improve the border's security and peacekeeping operations. China is Cambodia's biggest investor and closest political partner. It was the chief backer of the murderous regime of Pol Pot in 1970s and has long maintained strong relations with Hun Sen, who has ruled for more than 30 years and grown increasingly repressive. Beijing's support allows Cambodia to disregard Western concerns about its poor records in human and political rights. And in turn, Cambodia generally supports Beijing's geopolitical positions on issues such as its territorial claims in the South China Sea. The construction of the new Chinese military facilities at Cambodia's Ream Naval Base is a point of strong contention with Washington. Ream faces the Gulf of Thailand adjacent to the South China Sea, where China has aggressively asserted its claims to virtually the entire strategic waterway. The U.S. has refused to recognize China's sweeping claims, and the Navy's 7th Fleet routinely sails past Chinese-held islands in what in terms freedom of navigation operations. In recent years, Hun Sen's government has cracked down on political opposition, shut media outlets, and forced hundreds of Cambodian politicians, human rights activists, and journalists into exile. And now, for story 12. China on Thursday dismissed the decision by Canada and the United Kingdom to join Washington's diplomatic boycott of the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympic Games as a farce. China is also not concerned that the officials' absence would spark a chain reaction, and numerous heads of state, government leaders, and members of royal families have registered to attend. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin said at the daily briefing. The three countries have said they won't send government dignitaries to the Games, which runs from February 4th to the 20th, to protest the human rights abuses in China. While New Zealand said it informed Beijing earlier that it wouldn't be sending any officials due to the pandemic travel restrictions, but had also communicated its human rights concerns. Under the diplomatic boycott, the countries will still send their athletes to compete. Wang said China had not extended the invitation to the US, Canada, or UK, and that it doesn't matter if their officials come or not. They will see the success of the Beijing Winter Olympics. China is confident there will be no chain reaction and perceives the overwhelming global support for the Games, he said. As of now, numerous heads of state, leaders, and governments and royal family members have registered to attend the Beijing Winter Olympics, and we welcome them, Wang said. China is committed to making greater contributions to the International Olympics cause and will offer up a streamlined, safe, exciting Olympics to the world. China has vowed to respond to the U.S. with firm countermeasures over the boycott, but has given no details on how it plans to retaliate. Rights groups have called for an all-total boycott of Beijing Winter Games, citing Chinese human rights abuses against its Uyghur minority in the northwest Xinjiang region, which some have called genocide. They also pointed to Beijing's suppression of democratic protests in Hong Kong and sweeping crackdowns on dissent in the semi-autonomous territories. Canada's move came as little surprise in the context of a sharp deterioration of bilateral ties since China arrested two Canadians in December of 2018. Shortly after Canada's arrest, Meng Wanzhou, Huawei Technologies' chief financial officer and daughter of the company's founder, on U.S. extradition request. Canada and others condemned what they called a hostage politics. While China describes the charge against Huawei and Meng as a politically motivated attempt to hold back China's economic and technological developments, China, the US, and Canada completed what was essentially a high-stake prisoner swap earlier this year. But the Chinese government's reputation has been severely tarnished in Canada. Along with the boycott controversy, the pandemic has dictated that promotional events for the Games be relatively low-key, particularly when compared to his friend's campaign launched ahead of the 2008 Beijing Summer Olympics. China that year staged a global torch relay that sparked violent confrontations along the route between opponents of the ruling communist and party supporters. The relay has been canceled entirely this year. And now, a short break from the daily English news of Millennium News 24/7. Stay tuned.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome back to Millennium News 24/7 Daily Local News Update. And now, our story 13. French President Emmanuel Macron urged Britain on Thursday to make it easier for people to apply for asylum and harder to work illegals to stem risky migration efforts across the English Channel after recent deadly sinking. Macron also accused the British government of reneging on promises over fishing licenses, of betraying French-British friendships by signing a secret submarine deal with the US and Australia that sank a rival French contract. The British government doesn't do what it says, Macron told the news conference. The two countries need to work together in good faith, notably on migration, he said. Thousands of migrants have deported from France's coast in recent months in small inflatable boats to try to reach Britain. Why are these women and men in these terrible conditions? Because they don't want asylum in France, Macron said. Britain and France accuse each other of not doing enough to prevent the death of at least 27 migrants whose boat sank last month off the coast of Calais. Macron also said that the French will decide with European Commissions on Friday on the next steps in France's fishing dispute with Britain. French fishermen are angry at British government for not granting more licenses to fish in the UK waters after the Brexit. The fishing industry is economically tiny, but symbolically important for both Britain and France. I like Great Britain. I like its people, Macron said. I want terribly to have a government that wants to work simply in good faith. Now for story 14. The last piano on which Frederick Chopin played and composed in Paris is being renovated by U.S. experts who is giving it back its original mid-19th century characteristics. Paul McNulty is spending days at the Frederick Chopin Museum in Warsaw filling in some cracks in the soundboard and putting in wire strings like the ones used by Paris piano manufacturer Camille Pellet, Chopin's favorite, in 1848. We're very, very close to the character and identity of this instrument when we put the correct strings on and everything else being in very good condition, McNulty told the Associated Press on Thursday. Pellet made the instrument with serial numbers 14810 available to Chopin, already seriously ailing at the time in the fall of 1848. After Chopin's death in October 1849, the piano was bought by his Scottish student and friend, Jane Stirling, who then offered it to Chopin's eldest sister, Lud- Ludwika Jajitsowicz. The piano arrived in Warsaw in 1850 and it still bears the red custom seal of Russia that ruled Warsaw at the time. It survived two world wars, including the destruction of the 1944 Warsaw Rising. Given the provenance and the good condition of the instrument, Nocte said, it is priceless. The Texas-born Monopoly says this is the best preserved Pile piano in the world. Despite having quite a dramatic history, it was played but treated well by Chopin's family and was not used for concert performances, also because of its failed renovation attempts. And most of its iron wires, strings, changed for much stronger and tighter modern ones during renovations in the 1950s that destroyed its tune and put strain on the whole structure. Minotti and museum authorities believe the current work will bring it as close as possible to the sound that Chapin heard. We hope it will sing for us again, said Alexander Lewitsky, spokesman for the Frederick Chopin Institute that houses the museum. So an opportunity to hear the sound of Chopin's piano also, as he heard it when he composed it, quite likely. Lakowski said, McNulty, who has restored and built replicas of hundreds of historical pianos in the past 35 years, say the new sound will be within confines and expectations of the builder. The instrument will serve as a resource for research and may be a model for a replica, but it's not intended for performances. Among the copies McNulty it has made a 1749 Silbermann piano that Johann Sebastian Bach improvised on. And now, story 15. Russia's top military officer on Thursday sternly warned neighboring Ukraine against trying to reclaim control over the separatist area by force, saying that Moscow will suppress any such attempt. The statement by General Valery Gerasimov, chief of the Russian military general staff, comes amid soaring tensions over Russian troops buildup near the border with Ukraine that stoked Ukrainians and Western fears of a possible invasion. A senior Russian diplomat doubled down on Gerasimov's warning by saying that failure to stem the mounting tensions could push Russia and the West to a redo of the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis that put the world on the verge of nuclear war. U.S. President Joe Biden warned his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin in a video called Tuesday that the Western would respond with bruising economic sanctions that will inflict acute pain on Moscow if it invades Ukraine. At the same time, Biden made it clear Wednesday that the U.S. troops wouldn't be sent to Ukraine to confront the Russians and announced a future talks between the U.S. and its top NATO allies and Russia to address some Moscow security concerns. Russia has rejected Ukrainians and Western claims of plotting an attack and described them as a cover-up for a possible attempt by Ukraine to retake the rebel-held area. Ukraine has denied such plans, and on Thursday, Gerasimov reinforced Moscow warning to Ukrainians not to try to use force to reclaim control of the East, saying that any provocations by the Ukrainian authorities to settle the Donbass problem by force will be suppressed. U.S. intelligence officials say Russia has stationed about 70,000 troops near its borders with Ukraine and has begun planning for a possible invasion as soon as early next year. Speaking to foreign military attaches, Yermashkov dismissed Western concerns about Russian military buildup, arguing that Moscow is free to deploy its troops whenever it likes on its territory and calling the claim of possible Russian invasion a lie. He charged that Ukraine is also blamed for escalating tensions in its war-torn eastern industrial heartland known as Donbass by deploying new weapons there, including the US-supplied Javelin anti-tank missiles and Turkish drones. Russia and Ukraine has been locked in a bitter tug of war since 2014, when Moscow annexed the Ukrainian Crimean Peninsula and through its support behind the separatist insurgency in eastern Ukraine that has killed more than 14,000 people. Ukraine and the West accuse Russia of sending troops and weapons to back the separatists, which Moscow has repeatedly denied. Gremlin complained about NATO's growing presence near Russian borders and the increasing numbers and scope of drills by alliance troops. He particularly noted an increase in patrol flights by the U.S. strategic bombers near Russian territories, saying that they are practicing launching cruise missiles at targets in Russia. Now for story 16. Actor Sienna Miller on Thursday accepted substantial damages from a publisher of British tabloid newspaper, The Sun, which she accused of hacking her phone and leaking news of her pregnancy. Miller, a performer whose films include Factory Girl, Black Mass, and The Lost City of Z, joins a list of dozens of people who have received payments from newsgroup newspapers over illegal eavesdropping that took place over a decade ago. Newsgroup newspapers has paid millions of pounds to settle lawsuits for hacking victims. Most of the cases have involved in a now defunct News of the World, which was shut down by owner Rupert Murdoch in 2011 after revelations that its employees had snooped on a voicemail of a celebrities, politicians, and even crime victims in search of scopes. Newsgroup newspapers have acknowledged hacking by the News of the World, but not by The Sun, which continues to operate. Nonetheless, Miller, 39, said she felt fully vindicated after the publisher agreed to pay her undisclosed substantial damages without admitting liability. Outside court, Miller said journalists and management at the newspaper very nearly ruined my life. I have certainly seen how they have ruined the lives of others. Their behavior shattered me, damaged my reputation, at times beyond repair, and caused me to accuse my family and friends of selling information that catapulted me into the state of intense paranoia and fear, said Miller, who was a British tabloid fixture during her relationship with fellow actor Jude Law in the early 2000s. Miller's lawyer, David Sherborne, said the payment was tantamount to an admission of liability by The Sun. And this was your daily local news update of Millennium News 24/7. Log in to get the latest news. All of our social networking sites, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, is Millennium News 24. Our YouTube channel is News Channel M24. Viewers now on both networking broadcasting, Androids and iOS devices, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire, also on smart TV platforms. Please enjoy our entertainment and latest news and views. Our Millennium TV app, Millennium TV USA, and Android, Millennium News on Google, and of course, www.millenniumtv24.com. Stay with Millennium News 24, and thank you for watching.